spent so much time and money trying to learn how book deals and book publishing worked because I wanted my first book to be a success. And for a first-time author, my first book was relatively successful. It did take me 2 years to get that book deal, and it was a really tough experience. And it was from the experience of selling it that I realized this isn't luck, and why isn't anyone teaching authors how to do this properly? Because agents and editors and publishers have certain expectations, but you often don't know them until you do the thing wrong. That is pretty much what it's like for a first-time author. So I created this based on everything that I had learned through the process of securing my first book deal, and then what happened after I got the book deal and what I learned about publishing before it was published. I had pitched my first book without an agent and got that book deal on my own, then seeing how it was received in the marketplace, what happened with the book sales, the royalties, the different things that happen with publishers, because this all helped me when I then had my second book. And a lot of nonfiction authors, particularly when it's a memoir, never write another book. And if you've been disappointed by the process and had a really tough time, you won't want to write or pitch another book. So I was determined to not do it the same way. I wanted it to feel good. For A Letter from Paris, I was determined to get an agent. I wanted it to be sold overseas. I wanted audio rights. And I was determined to sell the book before I wrote it because I knew how much time and research it would take. And I wanted that security of the advance, a deadline and a publisher to have that deadline with. And I had these really specific requirements for my second book, and I strategized exactly how I would do that using all I had learnt over the course of struggling to get my first book deal and then being quite disappointed in how the whole sales and marketing process was not shown to me. So with that knowledge, I formed a strategy and I managed to sell my second book, turn a blog post into an offer of publication from a top 5 publisher, then secured myself an agent, then secured multiple offers from multiple publishers, and chose a publisher that I knew would give this book the best chance of success overseas, because that was my specific requirement and definition of success. And it was not about the book advance. It was about these other things that I knew were much more important to the long-term success, not just of my book, but for me as an author, and how I could be sure that after this book, I could pitch another book and keep writing, because that's what I love to do. I'm in this for the long term. So that is the strategy that I created and I followed, and it resulted in a book deal for me within 8 months with no manuscript. That book went on to become an international bestseller. It was published in 3 different continents. It came out as an audio book. All of my dreams and desires around that book came true because I was really strategic, and I knew that it was not about luck. It was about this business side of publishing that authors are simply not taught for the first book. So I've poured all of this into the book deal program because I want to empower authors to do these things right the first time, because I do believe that authors need to have self-agency even if they choose to have an agent, because it's a very hierarchical and secretive industry. And when you do actually know how agents work and what they need, and how publishers work and what they need, you can make better decisions and have much better relationships in this industry as well, and give yourself and your book the best chance of success. So that's a little bit about why I created the program. In terms of what I teach you and I show you and share with you in the program, it's really this step-by-step strategy to both sell your story, which is a strategy that I follow to sell thousands of stories to media, which I then translated to selling books. So this is how I was able to turn a blog post into offers of publication from a top 5 publisher, which I then turned into an agent representing me. You don't need to be a complete newcomer to publishing to benefit from this program. It's going to help empower you to have more long-term success and self-empowerment, most importantly, in the traditional book publishing industry. It is specifically for non-fiction. The only reason I say if you're trying to sell a fiction, don't join it, is really because I don't have experience selling a novel. But the publishing and agent stuff is all the same, and the way the money side of royalties and everything works. But nonfiction authors actually have an advantage, and this is why my strategy has resulted in hundreds of thousands of dollars of story sales and both of my books being sold relatively quickly, is because nonfiction authors in the 2020s have a real advantage. We can position ourselves online. We have social media. We can have a web presence. And this is just a way to elevate your position in the specific category to which your book is being pitched and sold. It's also going to help you in your negotiations with agents, editors, publishers for the long term. It's very much focused on coming at this from a point of empowerment, because you know exactly how publishing works. I teach you the business model of publishing, how to get published, how to get an agent, how to sell your work, how to position yourself really effectively, and how to make more sales when your book does actually come out. And basically everything that I've learnt over the last 20 years in media and marketing and authorship and writing, and as a creative, determined to chart my own path and learn how this elusive traditional book publishing industry worked to shorten that time span for you and help you around these publishing dreams of yours and reach long-term success in whatever way that looks for you best.